Asim Munir is in the US, but viewers, it is not a free lunch. Imagine being so desperate for validation, you gate crash a party, take selfies outside to prove that you were basically inside. That's Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir for you. He claimed that he'd be honored at America's big 250th military bash, only for the White House to respond, no foreign military leaders were invited. But instead of heading home, Munir's now meeting President Donald Trump. Munir's Washington tour includes several other meetings as well. In fact, there was also a mall outing, according to some updates that are coming in, though some of those videos may not be verified, but that's also a report that's coming in. But at the end of the day, Munir serves a purpose. He serves an important utility for President Trump in his larger strategic game. It's not about Pakistan, it's about positioning. Because Pakistan matters only because of its strategic location right now for America. That's the only reason why it's there. Otherwise, it's a geopolitical valley, as some would call it. Protesters continue outside, reminding DC that Pakistan's democracy is more cosplay than constitution. But what's really happening right now is that Washington's inviting Munir because he could be extremely useful for Trump administration right now as it decides what should be the next steps in terms of Iran. How should it deal with the Iran problem and how it wants to escalate this? Remember, Donald Trump has already said that there should be unconditional surrender. That's the word that he's used for Iran, something that has led to a sharp response from Khamenei as well, who's the supreme leader of Iran. And in the backdrop of this, an important update had come in that Pakistan would actually throw nukes on Israel if Iran was attacked. That's a report that had come in. In the backdrop of that, this meeting is important for Trump administration. Nothing more, nothing less. That's the utility that Asim Munir serves for Donald Trump. Let me now get in Prabhu Dayal, former ambassador, joining us on the broadcast, and Dr. Siddharth Ramadehi as well, a fellow of CSDR. I want to understand, gentlemen, from both of you in terms of your view on this visit, this meeting that is going to take place. Let me start with you, Ambassador Dayal. There's a certain specific utility that Pakistan serves, and that's the reason why Asim Munir would be meeting Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. You're absolutely right in saying that Pakistan serves some sort of a utility in the global interests of the United States. And at this particular time, when there is a conflict which is escalating between Iran and Israel, Pakistan, being situated right next door to Iran, is going to play an important role. Now, President Trump has given indications that there may be more direct involvement of the United States. US forces in the region are being strengthened. President Trump has asked people living in Tehran to vacate the city. That's 17 million Iranians. Then in addition, he has also said certain things, like, for instance, that he was leaving the G7 because, for obvious reasons. And then he said, for a big purpose. So there are some reasons to speculate that the US is perhaps contemplating a more direct involvement in the Israel-Iran war. And in that context, as you yourself mentioned, Pakistan may be required to play a role of not exactly siding with Iran, because there have been statements made by the Pakistanis supporting Iran and saying that they will stand alongside Iran. Now, that is something that Trump doesn't want, and he knows that in Pakistan it is the army chief who calls the shots. Pakistan is not a democracy, it's a deep state. And the deep state is the armed forces and the ISI. So he wants to keep General Munir on his side. And it's very unusual for the President of the United States to host a dinner for an army chief of Pakistan. It's never happened before. The only army chiefs who have been hosted in similar fashion were those who had become heads of state. Asim Munir is not yet there, but nonetheless, the US realizes that he can have a pivotal importance in the context of the Israel-Iran war, and therefore President Trump wants to keep him on his side. Moreover, let me tell you, there is another side to the Pakistan-Trump relationship. You know, the Pakistan army is directly involved in the cryptocurrency or the Bitcoin deal which is taking place between Pakistan
Prabhutal,
and
I'm
the
going to
Trump
come to
family.
that, sir. I'm going to come to that in just a bit. The crypto angle
All
that
right.
you're mentioning, I'm going to come to that. I want to take some of these one by one. And Siddharth, let me come to you on that. The reason why this lunch meeting is taking place in the very first place is because Asim Munir serves a certain utility. If Donald Trump decides to take the next action as far as Iran is concerned, other is what J.D. Vance actually said in his tweet, whatever it may be, they need Pakistan on their side. Pakistan and Iran share a 900-kilometer long border. From surveillance to anything more, it needs Asim Munir and his men, which is the reason why this lunch meeting is taking place in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. So the way I'll put it is that Pakistan's value to the US and to Trump has simply shot up, but it's a very short-term thing. So we do not know for how long President Trump will continue with his maximum pressure plus approach. But he would like to use Pakistan in the very short run in order to signal to Iran that it faces increasing international isolation, right? Trump has managed to do that vis-a-vis Russia to a certain degree and has undercut the ability of Russia to provide Iran with much needed weapons or diplomatic support, right? So I think there's a similar psychological aim here, of course, with the potential of more material cooperation in intelligence and surveillance across the border. But if I were Asim Munir right now, I'd be a little bit nervous because President Trump might not be very sensitive to or care about the domestic political situation in Pakistan, where there have been protests, there is a strong anti-Israel sentiment, and there are conspiracy theories within Pakistan that Asim Munir is somewhat pro-Israel, and he's trying to get in the good books of both Israel and US. So, because of this lunch meeting, the perception might strengthen that Asim Munir is betraying Pakistan's civilian government's agenda, Pakistan's traditional foreign policy of Islamic based solidarity against Israel, and getting cozy with both the US and to a certain degree Israel. I would like to point out that just this year in March, there was a delegation from Pakistan to Israel of journalists and educators, sort of a goodwill visit. So that also points to a certain trend of exploring unofficial talks and unofficial engagement between Israel and Pakistan, and that is a hot topic within Pakistan. And hence, the army chief's ability to please or satisfy Trump is very, very limited and is fraught with a lot of risks. So, in a sense, if I were him, I'd be very nervous going into this lunch meeting with President Trump. And from an Indian point of view, I think wait and watch is obviously the right approach. And they may not even get to the point of discussing India in this lunch meeting. And even if it does, Asim Munir's agenda will be to remind President Trump of this supposed idea that he will apply pressure on India for talks on Kashmir. But the ability of the army chief to use Pakistan's strategic location in this very difficult time and then be able to translate that into a policy that is aimed at India is a very long road. I don't think we have.
First of all, Donald Trump is meeting and entertaining Asim Munir for a very specific reason. Even though Asim Munir's entire campaign was around projecting that he is the special guest at the 250th Army celebrations, none of which was true and none of which Donald Trump is going to forget when that meeting takes place. That's point number one. Point number two, this meeting also takes place just hours after an important phone call between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump. So a lot of what Asim Munir may have wanted to say, India has already set the record straight. So that is unlikely to come about. Prabhu Dayal, it's going to be a very specific fact about A, what good are you in terms of Trump's administration's plans with regard to Iran? That's the only thing. And the second fact also is that Pakistan is deeply under the clutches of Chinese control. So that could be the second and the other aspect of why Trump administration would like to have the Pakistani army chief under its fold.
Well, let me just begin by saying that in January 2018, President Trump, during his first term, had tweeted that America had given Pakistan $33 billion in assistance, and in return, Pakistan had given only lies and deceit. So that is his true opinion about Pakistan. That is what he thinks of that country, that it is a totally untrustworthy nation. However, as we have all said, it is a time when Trump needs Pakistan to stay a little low profile, at least, on the Iran versus Israel war, or even, if possible, side alongside the United States in its operations. And you rightly pointed out that there are deep connections between Pakistan and China. And that connection may become somewhat important in the context of Chinese assistance, which could be funneled through Pakistan to Iran.
Okay.
So Trump doesn't want that. So I think that he has in mind certain objectives for Pakistan to be able to play. And let me tell you that in the context of the US-Pakistan relations, India always becomes a factor. Pakistan will get some assistance. It is the Trump administration which facilitates the IMF loan package and the and the World Bank loan. So it's likely that it will get some assistance or the other, even military assistance, and that will not
Let me
be
leave
good
it there, sir. Let me leave it there, sir, simply because running out of time. But you're right about the fact that if Pakistan wants to remain solvent, it needs to be on Trump's good books to get another round of bailouts, whether it's IMF or World Bank. So Asim Munir needs to put up a good show, even though he also needs to explain how good is he and how relevant he is in Trump's scheme of things with regard to the Iran game plan. All right.